Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, November 27th, 2014. Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. Happy Thanksgiving, that uniquely American holiday. One of the few besides the 4th of July that everybody can celebrate without a second thought about customs, anything. It's just a day to give thanks. I'm outside the legendary Binion's Casino behind me, B-I-N-I-O-N-S. And of all the casinos in Vegas, you've heard me sort of hint at it for a few days now. Binion's is by far the most legendary. It's not one of the big time corporate hotels, Caesars Entertainment Group or any of the other enormous Las Vegas, what's the other one that Sheldon Adelson runs? The Sands Group, the Wynn. This thing was a family operation until a few years ago when it kind of fell on hard times. But if you've heard of the World Series of poker they stage every year in Las Vegas here, it started right here behind me in the poker rooms here in the 1970s. You might have 10,000 people enter today for $10,000 an entry fee, but back then it was 10 guys sitting around a poker table shooting off their mouths claiming to be the best. Doyle Brunson, who wrote the book, the poker strategy book, that so many people use, the legend Doyle Brunson. He could just break you. If he sensed that you were weak, he would put his stack of $1 million in and go all in on you, and you would just be sitting there at the poker table thinking, well, I have $150,000. I can either go in and match and call him, in other words, see his bet, but if I lose, I'm going to be wiped out. Okay, so you would just fold, throw your cards away. All right, Doyle, just take it. And this is the way he was. He never worried about what cards he held in his hands. All he worried about was the opponent that he was facing, and whether the opponent was courageous enough to match or to go in on a pot to see him to what they call the river, or the last card in Texas Hold'em. He was also one of the Doyle Brunson was also one of the first ones to win 2 years in a row, and he won by outdrawing his opponent. In other words, his opponent at the end had better cards than he had, except for the last card. And I think in both of those cases, he managed to turn the last card into a full house and won. So after reading his book, I figured out, it didn't take long to figure out that poker was a game of courage. You play the person, you don't play the cards. That's the secret. And good poker players will say any two cards. I can have any two cards and win. But there's a lot of other legends about Binion's Horseshoe. It's where we're going to talk about the greatest winning streak in gambling that ever occurred. Was in here when a guy rolled into town with $50 in his pocket. In the space of 6 months, it amassed $17 million. He started out, as most of them do, at Binion's. And why did he do that? This was back in 1992. He did that because Binion's had the reputation that they would book any bet. In other words, there was no bet that was too big. Other casinos be like, oh, hell no. You want to bet $1 million on a roll of a dice? Forget about it. That shit's just for movies and TV. These guys, Binion's, would book the bet. A couple times they got their ass kicked in on those bets, but they had the reputation of being a place that would book the bets. So all the big time poker players, crap shooters came here because they could make those enormous bets, and Binion's wouldn't flinch. Benny Binion, the owner, was famous for having a huge vault out in the middle of the desert that was filled with tons of silver dollars and stuff, and that collection went on to be known as the Binion collection of silver dollars and stuff. And if you have one of those in your collection, you have a real piece of Americana. He was always in trouble with the IRS. He always, I think he once shot a man and killed a man, but got off, was found, not guilty. I mean, just the legends surrounding Binions are incredible. Just the fact that the World Series of Poker began at this place right behind me, and all the greats like Doyle Brunson and Johnny Moss and Chip Reese, Stu Unger, all the great names that you associate with Texas Hold'em, they were playing here in in the 1970s before 99.999% of Americans knew what the hell poker was. Texas Hold'em. Everybody grew up playing a 5-card draw where you were dealt 5 cards, and then you could discard up to 4 of them, right? If you were holding an ace, you would throw 4 up and away if everything else was crap. Nobody had ever heard of Texas Hold'em, where you're dealt 2 cards the first round. You do a series of bets, and then they have what's called the flop comes, and 3 more cards come, and then there's called what they call 4th Street, where you make another bet, and then 5th Street, or what they call the river, when the last card comes down. It's not unusual, as has been the case at Binion's, to have a pot with $10 million sitting in. Of course, all the old guys have moved on, and now the poker's common everywhere on TV and everything. But anybody that knows anything about big-time gambling, and 99% of the people that walk through here don't know the history about Binion's, but I do, and now you do. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. Thanks for watching. I'm having such a good time in Vegas.